morning and welcome to AARP Missouri's Fitness Series Moving It. My name is Sandy and I'm a volunteer with AARP and I'm here to help you kick off our new fitness programming. Moving It has three programs to help keep you fit. Today is Tai Chi, and that will be delivered by the Jewish Community Center instructors on Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Forever Fit, which has been developed and will be delivered by the Jewish Community Center of St. Louis. This program takes place every Monday at 10:30. Moving with Val will be on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. on AARP Missouri Facebook and the YouTube channel. Now, this fitness series is open to anyone, anywhere, so tell your friends and family. Moving It is a part of our overall program, The Good Life with AARP, which provides you with tips, ideas, and experiences to help you live your best life. I encourage you to check out our other programs by going to aarp.org/Missouri. Now, our Tai Chi class that's scheduled for Thursday, December 24th, will be on Tuesday, December the 22nd, which is next week. And our Thursday class, December the 31st, will be on Tuesday, December the 29th. Now, this information is also stated on your Tai Chi reminder. So, unless we have any other questions, Shelley, I believe we're ready to start.
Okay. In case there are a couple of you who are new today, my name is Shelley Schrey. I'm a Tai Chi instructor with the Jewish Community Center in St. Louis, Missouri. And we will be doing Tai Chi fundamentals form today. There are two parts kind of to the class. We start off with some warm-ups and basic movement patterns, and then we move on to the choreography of the form itself. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I don't know if everyone's already automatically muted. It looks like everyone's muted now. Okay, so I don't need to do that. And, if you have questions while we're working, feel free to, you can write the question in chat. I do stop once in a while for some brief periods, and you can ask a question at that time if you need clarification. And just in general about Zoom, probably everyone's pretty familiar with Zoom these days, but if you're not so familiar and you want my image to be the largest image on the screen, then in the upper right corner where it says view, you need to select speaker view. Or you can just click on my square and select pin video or pin, and then my image will be the largest one. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're really working on in Tai Chi are basic principles of movement that over time, they sort of integrate of their own accord because you're paying attention to things differently. And we integrate all of those principles really into our daily lives and how we move and how we interact with the world around us. That's why it's such a great lifelong practice. So the principles, the 5 basic principles there are 4 that have to do with actual movement, and that is mind and body relaxed, keeping the body upright, and the image of that is as though the spine is suspended. So if each of these beads is a vertebra, and this little weight is a tailbone, then the body is upright, but not in a rigid way, in a relaxed way. With the idea of the heavy tailbone, you release downward. So relax, body upright, separating the weight. And that has to do with shifting the weight in a very purposeful and aware manner. Moving from the center, waist is the commander. The waist turn directs the hands, the movements of the hands and the feet. Okay, so we have relax, body upright, separate the weight, waist is the commander. Those 4 have to do with actual movement. The 5th one, and it's very particular to this tradition, the Tai Chi fundamentals, Yang style short form, has to do with the wrist. Because there's no tension, I want the wrists open. Okay, so it's called Lady's Beautiful Hands. It's loosely translated to Lady's Beautiful Wrist or Beautiful Lady's Wrist. So the wrist is open. Now, there are some movements at the beginning of the form, where we change the position of the wrists, but they stay relaxed. You don't want tension there. And once we're in the form, the wrist stays straight, okay, without being rigid. Okay. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start with our feet in this position called point, and we're going to do the basic movement patterns part 1. We might get to part 2 today. We'll see how it goes. So in part 1, we always start out the form, and I start out all the basic movement patterns from point. So the feet are in a small V. The heels don't touch. And if you look down at your feet, the space between your feet should resemble a very modest slice of pie. So spend a few moments here. The arms are just relaxed down by your sides. Take the time to just settle your mind, settle your breathing, and settle your body. So you want the image of the head suspended, the head, top of the head floating up, tailbone feels heavy so that the spine straightens, the knees are not locked, and the arms are really heavy. You want to feel the full weight of your arms. The average adult arm weighing somewhere around 15, 18 pounds, maybe more for some people. So while you're here, let the tip of the tongue very gently touch the roof of your mouth and relax the breath. Lips are closed, belly relaxed, no tension in the stomach. And in Tai Chi, we want to achieve what's called belly breathing, but we don't want to force the breath. So just by relaxing the belly and just relaxing the body, if you visualize the lungs, the full three-dimensionality of your lungs, as you inhale, the lungs expand downward and outward in all directions very gently, and as you exhale, they simply relax. It's like when you have a collapsed balloon in your hand and you just blow a little bit of air in it so that it fills. You can see how it fills, and when you stop, it relaxes. Okay, and that's how we are here. And spending a few moments here allows you to have your attention be more internally focused. Feet are relaxed. You should be able to wiggle your toes. Weight is evenly distributed over the whole of both feet. Okay, and from this position, I'm going to do the mirror image. So we're going to bend the knees and hips, sinking all the way down into the center of the right foot. We're going to step out with the left foot to the left, toes point straight ahead, and you're going to set up your hip width distance. So you want the heels to line up. And then as you shift the weight into the center of the left foot, let your hips line up with the right foot. Ideally, the right foot has no weight on it, but as long as it has less than the left, that's good. So turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the right heel, shift to the middle, and as you rise, don't lock the knees, place the hands very gently on the lower abdomen. And again, very light touch here, and settle here. So the whole body's a little more awake now. Belly is relaxed, no tension in the stomach, the elbows feel heavy. Fingertips light, head is light. In the fundamentals form, we talk specifically about the three heavies, which are the elbows, the tailbone, and the knees, from the waist down, essentially. And the three lights, the top of the head, the eyes, the hands, and fingertips. Relax the belly, no tension in the stomach. Knees not locked, and just relax here. Pay attention to the bottoms of the feet. The foot should be fully relaxed so that it's melded into the floor. That leaves the center of the bottom of the foot, the bubbling well, or the Yung Chuan as the Chinese call it, open, and that's what allows your connection deep into the earth. Okay, and if it helps, you can imagine 3 points of contact just below the big toe on the ball of the foot, just below the little toe, and the center of the heel. If you're aware of those 3 points of contact, then the weight should be evenly distributed over the whole foot. And while you're here, if you want to, if it helps you, you can slowly shift your weight to the balls of your feet so you'll know where that is and know that that's not what you want. And then slowly shift to the heel, knowing again that that's really not where you want to be. Experiment a little bit with shifting side to side. and then settling into the center. Elbows heavy, fingertips light, just relaxing the breath. Now we want to maintain this slow, even rhythm of breathing as we do all the basic movement patterns. Okay, so the first one is relaxed breathing. The second one is heavy arms. So let the arms be heavy by your sides and they actually swing. So it's called heavy arms or arm swinging. Slow, gentle movement while you're paying attention to the bottoms of the feet and the knees feel heavy, belly's relaxed, tailbone feels heavy, no tension in the muscles of the buttocks. And the top of the head is light, floating upwards. I'm going to turn sideways so you can get a feeling for the range of motion and the movement of this, of the arms here. So none of these exercises are range of motion exercises. They're all coordination exercises. So you just want to make sure that the movement is from the shoulder, from this joint. We're warming up the joint. The elbows are flexible. They can bend a little bit. But you don't want to move the arm very far behind the body or very far in front because that's too much intention. We want to get this nice slow movement. And while you're doing this nice slow movement, you're also able to pay attention to how the whole body feels. Because the eyes are in the front of our heads and we live so much in our minds, our focus is pretty much frontal. But in Tai Chi, we want to cultivate an awareness of the whole body, the full three-dimensionality of the body. Okay? And then the next exercise is called Crane Takes Flight. We'll start out with just the leg portion. Place a hand on the lower abdomen and the other hand across from it, just so that you can feel the angle of your pelvis. And actually, while your hands are here, go ahead and lock your knees. You can feel what happens to your lower back. You pitch forward. And if you just release the knees, you release all this tension. Okay, so we're just bending the knees and hips a little bit. See, I don't bend that far because I want to be relaxed and I want to keep my body upright. Okay? So just bending the knees and hips a little bit, and you want the idea that your energy, your weight is sinking into the center of the earth through the bottoms of the feet. Okay, so just bending the knees and hips slightly. Now we coordinate the arms by we bend the knees and hips, the palms are gently facing each other. And as we rise, we don't lock the knees and we just breathe in, the elbows feel heavy, and the wrists light. The wrists no higher than the shoulders. Make sure you get a bend in the elbow because that's going to allow you to keep the shoulders relaxed. We don't need to involve the shoulders in this movement. Shoulders should stay relaxed, neck, jaw relaxed. And this is called Crane Takes Flight for a reason, breathing in and out. And if you're seated, you're just going to do the arm movement, coordinating the arm movement with the breath because you're already seated, so you're not going to be rising and lowering yourself. So the knees point straight ahead. Imagine there are headlights on your knees. Distance between the knees stays the same. And don't let the knees drop in as you bend the knees and hips. So inhale and exhale. If your knees come in, there could be two reasons. One, your stance might be a little too narrow, so you just want to check and make sure that your hip width distance, okay, not too narrow. You might be trying to bend the knees and hips too much. So you're going beyond, I would call your range of motion, okay? Okay, and the next time we bend the knees and hips, the next one we're going to stay down this. We bend the knees and hips and we stay down here. And the palms face the floor. I'm going to turn sideways again so you can see. So when we shift the weight down into the center of the right foot and then down into the center of the left foot. You can see my body stays upright, head suspended, head easing upward, tailbone feels heavy. Okay? Remembering the three heavies, the knees feel heavy, knees are pointed straight ahead, the tailbone feels heavy, and the elbows are heavy. That keeps the shoulders relaxed. The knees stay pointed straight ahead. And while the body does move left and right when we shift the weight, I don't want you to think about moving side to side because then I think there's too much attention on the hips and we have a tendency to do that. I want you to think again internally of releasing down into one foot, down into the other. The hips are level with one another, and the hips are on a plane that's parallel to the floor. And just pay attention to the bottoms of the feet. If it helps you to close your eyes a little bit so you can really feel that you're releasing down into the center of one foot and down into the center of the other. The knees stay pointed straight ahead, and the whole time you're aware of the connection that the outside of the foot has with the floor, the whole heel, ball of the foot, and all the toe pads. Okay? And then come back up to center. And again, if you're doing this seated, you're shifting on the sits bone. Okay? You're sitting at the very front of the chair, and you can place the hands here when you're seated. You can do whatever you want with the hands. And you slowly sink into, I'm going to sink into my right sits bone so that I can just release the left foot. And then I sink into the left. And you can see my upper body is light. I'm not rigid. There's no tension there. My head is easing upward, and I'm making this very subtle change in the sits bones without leaning. Okay? As we separate the weight. Okay. So the next principle we're working on, the basic movement pattern, is waist as the commander. Right? So moving from here. So we've worked on relax. We've worked on relax, body upright while we do this simple movement. Okay, bending the knees and hips is the precursor to separating the weight. Because if you're up high and you don't bend the knees and hips, the only way you can shift the weight is by leaning. Right? So my weight goes on to the outside of one foot and onto the outside of the other. But with the knees and hips bent a little bit, then you can drop into the center. You have to imagine you have these little, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think. These little connectors, maybe rubber connectors in the hip joints that can make these small adjustments to keep the upper body level. Okay, so now waist is the commander. That movement is called stable and open, which refers to the movements of the feet, and the arm movement is called gathering the stars. So we start the same way. We're going to do the feet first, but we're going to put the arms in the gathering the stars position. So really embracing the stars, gathering the stars. Imagine that you're holding a big soft pillow in here, whatever image works for you. Again, the elbows feel heavy, but you don't want the elbows to collapse. Tai Chi, where the body is not collapsed, it's alive. So I like the term relaxed attentiveness. So it's like this whole thing is floating, resting. Okay, the knees are bent slightly. We bend the knees and hips, sink into the right foot, and we turn to the left. Waist turn from here, turn the left toes out a little bit, just a little bit to the diagonal, and then they come back. And then we sink the weight down into the right foot, down into the left foot, and turn to the right and back. And shift into the right, turn to the left and back. Okay, so we're shifting the weight and turning the waist. And what the arms do, as you inhale, the arms open, get not too far, right? Not like this, because that creates a lot of tension up here. So out. And so as the lungs expand, as you inhale, the arms go out, both arms out. Now it's very tempting when we turn the waist to turn the right, turn one hand out at a time, but we want both arms out. Okay, so I'll do it a couple times facing you, and then I'll turn around. Okay, settle here, feet relaxed, knees, tailbone, elbows heavy, head, eyes, fingertips light. And begin bending the knees and hips, sinking into the right foot. Turn to the left, breathing in, left toes out, arms open. And exhale as you turn the waist to the front. Shift down into the left foot. Inhale as you open to the right. Exhale as you close to the front. Shifting the weight first, and then we're turning the waist. The waist turn causes the arms and the foot to change. So now we're doing the right side, turning to the right, turning to the left, and turning to the right. Shift the weight first, and then breathing in, relax into the right foot, elbows heavy, fingertips light, fingertips brushing the air. Be aware of the fingertips. Be aware of the top of the head easing upward. The bottoms of the feet relaxed. Now, if you're standing in the middle of the face of a clock, when you're pointed straight ahead, you're at noon. When you shift into the left and turn to the right, the toes turn out to 1. You don't want to go a full 45 degrees in this movement. And when you turn to the left, the toes are at 11. Remember, none of these are range of motion. They're all coordination. We're learning how to move. That's why these are basic principles of movement. Belly's relaxed and soft. Head is easing upward. Breath relaxed. Mind relaxed. Body relaxed. Imagine that you're in a wide open field and your eyes are able to gaze towards the horizon. Shift the weight and turn the waist. Inhale and exhale and shift and breathing in and out. And one more on the left side. And we'll come back to center. Okay. And I'm going to demonstrate this one again seated. Again, if you're doing things seated, the easiest surface is, of course, a smooth chair, because then you can glide easily. If you have a fabric chair, it's not so easy. So again, seated, just like when you're standing, right? Relax, body upright, knees lined up with the hips, ankles right under the knees, toes pointed straight ahead. And when you sit on the very front of the chair, you do have weight on your feet, so you do have to adjust the body. So just like when we were shifting the weight, right? We sink into the right, and small turn out. Elbows heavy, fingertips light, body upright. Okay? And while I'm seated, I'll go ahead and remind everyone how to shift the weight when you're seated. When you're seated, imagine that these are your hips, okay, top of the head. And when you shift the weight, you just hinge the hips. So you want to keep that body upright. You want to have that straight spine. And when you do this, you can feel the weight exchange on the feet. You don't have to go very far. So this, Tai Chi really cultivates this kind of awareness of detail and minor changes. Remember, Tai Chi is a martial art. And so it really depends on that kind of sensitivity of your surroundings. So you're cultivating the ability to be stable and centered so that you can respond to change. And whether you're walking down a sidewalk or a street and there's a change in the pavement or a curb, I mean, how many people step off a curb? It's maybe deeper than they thought, or there's a pothole at the bottom, and then they fall. So cultivating this kind of awareness is great actually for everything you'll do. All right, so the last exercise in the basic movement patterns part 1 is again shifting the weight. So the first time we shifted the weight in the basic movement patterns, we did what's called bare rooting, right? The feet were in this basic stance Wu Chi position. Okay, so now we're going to be changing the foot position into what's called a 70-30, but we're going to be doing the same movement. The movement is shifting the weight. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter what position the feet are in. You're bending the knees and hips to keep the body upright, and you're sinking the weight down into the center of one foot. Remember the slinky, right? You can feel, if you can imagine, I've got a metal slinky. A plastic one isn't as good because it doesn't have the weight. You can really feel the weight. And that's what's going on in your legs. It's so important. Okay, so I'll do it facing you and then I'll turn around, we'll do it together. So this last one is called bear walking. So we start off with the feet in that hip width distance, that basic stance, knees not locked. Take a few moments to relax the lower back. I do a little self-massage from time to time just to help relax. It's hard to just decide that you're going to relax and then relax. Massage is always a good thing. So from this position, we're going to bend the knees and hips, shift into the right foot. Turn to the left, turn the left toes out to the diagonal a little bit. Now we're going to shift all the way into the left foot and we're going to face front. Make sure you can get your hips to the front. If you've turned out too far, I've got the range of motion to turn that far, but when I turn my toes out that far, I can't face front without putting pressure on my knee, without stressing the knee, right? We have to protect the knees. So we turn out a little bit to the diagonal, like to 1 on the face of the cloth. All the weight's there on the left foot. See the distance between my feet? I keep the weight on my left foot and then I take an empty step. So I put some weight on that foot. I'm resting my foot on the floor, but I haven't actually shifted. You know, when we're walking, we automatically shift. And that's why you fall if you're not sure what's going on the ground, because you're committed to that no matter what's there. But if you take the step, make sure you don't have too much weight on that foot, you can adjust to whatever's going on, and then we shift the weight. So when we're in the full 70-30, how do you know 70%? It's hard to measure. Although I do have someone in my class who was an engineer and he figured out a way to measure it. But it doesn't matter. More weight on the front leg. Now, when you're in a full 70-30, look where my left knee is. It's right above my left toes. Okay? So, and we get there, we're going to be shifting the weight. We get there, you have to bend both hip joints. Okay, that's how you keep the body upright. So when I drop into my front foot, I have to bend my rear hip joint to keep my body upright. If I drop into my front foot and I don't bend my rear hip joint, I'm leaning. Okay, I'm going to exaggerate. The weight's already on the ball of my foot. I can feel it. And if I don't bend my front hip joint when I shift into the rear leg, then the weight's on the heel of my both feet and I'm leaning. Okay? And if you don't have the body upright, you can't be balanced. So again, we're bending the knees and hips. That's why the empty step is so important, because that will set up your range of motion. Okay, so bending the knees and hips, shift into the right foot, turn to the left, turn the left toes out a little bit, all the way into the left foot, and don't take a long step. Important to keep the hip width distance. It can be a very short step. Okay, now you're facing front, make sure that's comfortable, and then bending the knees and hips, drop into the center of the foot. And now drop into the center of the rear foot. And you breathe in as you shift into the front foot, and you exhale as you shift down into the rear foot. And I'm going to turn sideways to show you the arms. As we release down into the front foot, the wrists rise, elbows heavy. That keeps the shoulders relaxed. As we release into the rear foot, elbows heavy. And breathing in as you shift into the front foot, and breathing out as you shift into the rear foot. So you inhale as the wrists rise, wrists no higher than the shoulders, elbows heavy. Exhale as you shift into the rear foot. Okay, so having a small step, and small means short, not wide, not narrow. Got to keep the hip width distance. Okay, so it's inhale and exhale, and breathing in and out. We'll do one more and then we're going to change sides. All the weights into the left foot, pick up the right foot, bring it straight back, shift into the right, waist turn to the front, brings you back to the neutral position. Check your feet. If you didn't get back to that, then go ahead and adjust it. So I'm going to turn around, we'll do the other side. Okay. So now we're going to bend the knees and hips, shift into the left foot, turn to the right toes out a little bit, all the weight's in the right foot, facing front. And we're going to step out with the left foot. Okay. Bend the knees and hips, breathing in, belly soft and relaxed, gentle breath. And inhale and exhale. And again, try to have your attention be more internally aware. Moving from the lower abdomen, the center down there. It's called the Tantien. It's 1.5 inches below the navel and about 1/3 of the way inside the body from the front. And the elbows are heavy and the wrists are light. And think about the wrists just rising, like in the opening movement of the form. Both feet flat on the floor. Pay attention to the bottoms of the feet, the arch area, the bubbling well area. Imagine that's where the weight shift is occurring. And the head is light, easing upward. We'll do one more. Breathing in and out. Now stay on the right foot, pick up the left foot, bring it straight back. Shift into the left foot, allowing your hips to line up with the right foot. Turn the waist to the front, and you're back to center. If your feet aren't quite there, go ahead and fix them. We want to get the feeling of the feet being correct in this basic posture. We want to train the mind to know where that is. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a short break, walk around a little bit, maybe get a drink of water. Let me know if you have a question about anything or if any of the movements that we're doing cause any pain. They shouldn't. So you might be not doing it quite right or might need to make a modification. So a word about the suspended head top. Actually, more than a word. Okay. So, when you're seated or standing, same thing, right? Suspended head top. So no one has a perfectly straight spine. No one has a perfectly straight back. I mean, I've got a slight curve in my upper back. We all have issues. But in your mind, if you can imagine this suspended head top and open spine, it just relaxes everything. So, I mean, I think the natural curve is, the neck has a little curve here. The upper spine has a slight convex. And then the lower back has the lumbar area has a slight concave, okay? But we can imagine that it's straight. So the idea of the head suspended. So sometimes you say body upright, people will, do this, they'll create tension, but you want to have the body upright by the head being suspended from the crown, really it's not quite the crown is right here, it's a little bit back. I'm gonna get real specific here. So somebody demonstrated this to me. If you put your thumbs, this is gonna look funny, if you put your thumbs on the top of your ears, okay, and then bring the pointing fingers together, that's the spot. Okay, there's a name for it, but I forget what it is. So if you pull up a little bit there, what happens is it creates this nice neutral area in the chin and neck. So if you have body upright like this, most people have a tendency to raise the chin. If you raise the chin even a little bit, compresses the vertebra here. If you focus too much on that, then you're compressing the vertebra in the front, and you just want everything to be as naturally aligned as possible. So this idea that you're suspended from here just kind of puts the chin in a nice neutral position. My tendency is to have the chin raised just a tiny bit. I've improved a lot over the years, but that's my natural tendency. So being aware of all that is really helpful. And that idea of the head suspended. So the first thing we do in the form when we shift the weight, right, we're in point. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. So we're in point, we shift the weight. So the head top is suspended as we drop into the right foot. And that's what keeps the spine floating and the body upright. Okay, so I just want to have a quick look at the time to see how we're doing. Okay. All right, so we're just going to work on that first circle right now. I'll do it facing you, and then I'll turn around and we'll work it together. So the footwork is the same as in the form, right? We start out with the feet hip width distance. As soon as we're in the 70-30, we're shifting the weight, even though the arms are doing different things. And then we change sides, and we're doing the same thing on the other side. It's a mirror image. Okay, so from point. When you're in point, take the time to relax your breathing, allow your body to settle. Imagine that the weight and tension is just leaving your body, dripping down the legs deep into the earth, getting rid of all that tension and stress. Tip of the tongue gently touching the roof of the mouth, head top suspended. And begin bending the knees and hips, sinking all the weight into the right foot. Step out with the left foot to the left, toes straight, hip width distance. As you shift into the left, the hips line up with the right foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the heel, shift to the middle. And as you rise, the arms are in the Wuchi position. We're going to stay in Wuchi briefly. Adjust your feet if you need to. And I'm going to turn sideways to demonstrate again the position of the arm in the Wuchi position. Elbow to the tip of the middle finger, and this is where the wrists are open and straight, okay? And then breathing in as the wrists rise, the elbows feel heavy, and then just breathing naturally. Wrist shoulder high, shoulder width. Then the palms face the floor, wrists slide towards the shoulders, elbows feel heavy, wrists heavy, fingers ease upwards slightly like they're moving through water, and back to Luchi. Ward off left side. We bend the knees and hips, shift into the left foot. Turn to the right, turn the right toes out, form the ball. The right hand's on top. The left hand is below the navel, across from the Tantian. And here also, we've got those open wrists. Head's easing upwards, sinking all the weight into the right foot. Step out with the left foot. It's fine to look. Short step, but keep the distance between the feet. Then bend both knees and hips as you sink the weight into the center of the left foot. Get most of your weight into the left foot. Turn to the front. Keep the weight in the left leg. Change the hands. Left hand floats up. Palm faces the body. Right arm is in Wu Chi. This is called ward off left side. The left hand is protecting the heart and lungs. As we shift into the right hand comes up. As we shift into the left, the right hand comes to the inside of the left. This posture is called press. The left hand turns down and up. The right hand wipes off the back of the left. The hands separate. I'm going to turn sideways briefly here so you can see. Still have most of the weight in that front foot. Then as I sink into the rear foot, my hands come towards the shoulders. The elbows feel heavy. And then as I shift again, I'm releasing that push. Okay, shift all the way into the right foot. Bring the left foot back. We're going to do that section again. Relax the belly, relax the breath. Head easing upward, tailbone heavy, knees heavy. And begin. Bending the knees and hips all the way into the right foot. Step out with the left foot, hip width distance, the toes point straight ahead. Knee points straight ahead. And as you shift into the left foot, let your hips line up with the right foot. Use the waist turn to turn the right foot. Shift into the middle, and as you rise, the arms change into the Wu Chi position. So in point, the arms were kind of close to the body. Once we're in Wu Chi, we can create a little space here. Mr. Lowe, my master teacher, said it's like you have an egg in your armpit, and the elbows bend slightly. Okay, let's stay here for a moment. And then breathing in as the wrists rise, fingertips point to the floor. Second time the wrists change, the palms face the floor. Third time, the elbows bend, the elbows feel heavy, but don't lower the hands. The hands just slide towards the shoulders and get to a comfortable stopping point and relax the wrists as the fingers point down. Then the elbows sink, the wrists sink, the fingers ease upward slightly. We're back to Wu Chi. Ward off left side, bend the knees and hips, shift into the left. Turn to the right, turn the right toes out, form the ball. All the way into the right foot. Step straight out with the left foot. Go ahead and look. And then bend the knees and hips. You're dropping into the center of the left foot. Most of the weight's on the left leg. Turn the waist. Change the hands. The left hand comes up along your center line. Palm faces the sternum. Right hand's in the Wu Chi position. And as you shift into the rear foot, the right hand comes up. As you shift into the left foot, right hand comes to the inside into press. Very little pressure between the hands. Left hand turns down and up. Hands separate. Elbows feel heavy. Fingertips slide, shift into the rear foot. The hands are in front of the shoulders and release the push. Shift into the right foot. Bring the left foot back. Okay, I'm going to check the time again. We've got a good amount of time left. I'm going to turn around and we'll do all of that, and then I'll add the transition posture where we do the mirror image. Okay, so from point. Take the time to settle. Allow your attention to be more internally focused or more internally aware. Belly relaxed, no tension in the lower back, muscles of the buttocks relaxed. And begin. Bending the knees and hips, sink all the way into the right foot. Step out with the left foot, hip width distance, toes point straight ahead. Go ahead and have a look if you need to. Then as you sink into the left foot, the hips rotate and line up with the right foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the right heel, shift to the middle. And as you rise, the arms are in the Wu Chi position. In preparation, Breathing in as the wrists rise, the elbows feel heavy. Imagine your wrists are floating to the surface of water. Then 2, the palms face the floor. 3, the elbows bend, the elbows feel heavy, sliding the wrists towards the shoulders, and the wrists relax. Then the elbows sink, the wrists sink, fingers float up, and the 5th time the wrists change, we're back to the Wu Chi position. Going into ward off left side, shift down into the left foot, turn to the right, turn the right toes out, form the ball, all the way into the right foot, step with the left foot, have a look if you need to, but you want your hips lined up with the right foot. Shift down into the center of the left foot, right knee lined up with the right toes, turn the waist, change the hands. The left palm is facing the sternum, the right arm's in the Wu Chi position. As you shift into the right foot, the right hand comes up. As you shift into the left, the right hand comes to the inside of the left. Left palm turns down and up. Right hand wipes off the back. The hands separate. Shift down into the rear foot. Bend both hips, bringing the hands towards the shoulders. Go ahead and release the push. Now we're going to change sides. So we bend the knees and hips, shift down into the right foot. That brings the hands towards the shoulders. Now turn to the left. The waist turn causes the left toes to turn out and the right hand to drop down. So the left toes turn out just a little bit and we form the ball with the left hand on top. Now all the way down into the left foot. Keep the hips lined up with the left foot. Step with the right foot, toes point straight ahead. Shift down into the right foot. Most of the weight's on the right leg. Turn the waist, change the hands. The right hand comes up. The left hand goes down. Ward off right side. Sinking into the left foot, the left hand comes up. Sinking into the right foot, the left hand comes to the inside of the right hand. The right palm is facing you. Right hand turns down and up. The hands separate. Shift down into the rear foot and release the push. Now all the way into the right foot, step up with the left foot. We're going to go back to the Wu Chi position. Shift into the middle. And as you rise, wrists open, fingers straight, adjust your feet. Stay in Wu Chi for a little bit. Let the tip of your tongue gently touch the roof of your mouth. Settle your breathing. Settle your mind and settle your body. Allow your knees to feel heavy, your tailbone to feel heavy, your elbows to feel heavy. Head, eyes, fingertips light. Okay, I'm going to do that once more. We'll do it a little quicker because we just have a couple minutes left. So preparation, just breathing in as the wrists rise and then breathing naturally. Elbows heavy, fingertips light, palms face the floor, wrists relax, elbows, wrists sink, back to Wu Chi. Ward off left side, shift down into the left, turn to the right, turn the right toes out, form the ball. All the way into the right foot, step with the left foot, shift into the left foot, turn to the front, change the hands. Left hand comes up along the center line, right hand goes down. Shift into the right hand comes up. Shift into the left foot, most of the weight's in the left leg. Left hand turns down and up, the hands separate. Shift into the rear foot, release the push. Change sides, bend the knees and hips all the way into the right foot, bringing the hands towards the shoulders. Turn to the left toes out a little bit, form the ball with the left hand on top. All the way into the left foot, step with the right foot, look at your feet. Right toes straight ahead, shift down into the center of the right foot, turn the waist, change the hands. The right hand comes up and the left hand goes down. So we're in ward off right side, right palm facing the sternum. Take a breath here. And then sinking into the rear foot, the left hand comes up. Sinking into the center of the right foot, the left hand comes to the inside of the right hand. Right palm is facing you. Right hand turns down and up, the hands separate. Shift into the rear foot. Release the push. All the way into the right foot, step up with the left. We're going to go back to Wu Chi. And as you rise, the arms change. Spend a few moments here, settle your breath. And then to close, you bend the knees and hips, shift into the left, turn to the right toes out a little bit, all the way into the right foot. Pick up the left foot, bring it in, and we're back to point.